What's up, guys? Davlin here. Three questions today from Who's Afraid of American Witch? The first part is I would like you to discuss your growth as a writer and how you view your own work. It all started with a notebook and pen, and I had a lot of things bottled up inside that I had to find a way to let out, and I couldn't talk to people about them, so I just started writing poetry and songs, mostly just kind of for myself, just to get them out. And I let a very select few people read them. And that's kind of how it was for the first few years. I wrote a lot of really terrible shit. Like, it was awful. I burned my high school spiral, and I only put like my favorite little bits on the flash drive of I've No Reason to Dream because they were terrible. They would go on for 4 and 5 pages just rambling. It was bad. And when I was about 21, I was reading a lot of Chuck Palahniuk at the time, and I love that guy's style. Like, he's one of my favorite authors. And it made me want to try the more narrative front because I experimented a little bit with it over the years, but most of it was just journal formatting before I even knew what blogging was. I would just write daily thoughts on a Word document. So I wanted to flesh that out, see what I could do with it. And started writing the narratives. And I tend to write short pieces, mainly because I don't have the attention span to write long ones. It drains me. I just like to have the quick, short, emotional beats. And I like to keep them vague so other people can relate and fill in the gaps with their own story and make it a little bit more relatable to them. And over the next few years, that's what I did. Like, I gave up on poetry and songs and just started telling my life story, essentially. And then after I built the website, like, that was something completely new, and I'd never done anything like that before. And it was really fascinating to me to see what I could do with zero experience in something, learning as I go, and with bare bones materials. And that's whenever I bought a mic and started recording my words through audio. And then a little bit before that, I took to open mic stages and just started doing readings. And that's what they were very much at first. They were just me with a piece of paper, reading it, shaking. Like, I don't even think they could hear me over the sound of the stage rattling. I was shaking so hard. And like, those three things took me in a completely different direction. Like, after I wrote my first book, I was just bored with the traditional book format. Like, it just does not hold my interest. And anytime I get comfortable with something, I kind of scrap it and then just go way out into left field and try something completely new, out of my element. Because I think that's the only way to really grow as an artist, is to constantly push yourself and try new things that might scare you sometimes. They might not always work, but at least you learn something along the way, and it'll make you a stronger and more well-rounded artist in the process. Which is why, like, I started doing the pictures from my phone, just finding new ways to express myself, and I love visual formatting. And one way that I really grew as an artist is, for the longest time, I hated other writers. Like, I fucking hated them with a passion, because all the ones I had talked to up to that point they were cocky, they were arrogant, and they were all about themselves. And I was the same way. And then when I started Tumblr and reading all the beautiful poetry that the other people have done, it kind of, like, your ego is the worst fucking thing for you. Check that shit at the door, because it'll only hold you back. And that's why I started FRH. I wanted to help all these other artists that were just bursting with talent. I wanted them to be seen by as many people as possible, and I wanted to help. And it really humbles me to see, like, the shit that these guys come up with on a daily basis. It just blows my mind. And I was inspired by, like, all the poetry they were writing. Like, it's beautiful and heartbreaking, and it's just, oh, it's fucking brilliant. And So lately, like, I've been writing a shit ton of poetry, which is just something I gave up on for years, and now I finally feel like I'm writing some stuff that's good, as opposed to the other stuff that wasn't. As far as how I view my work, it's really hard to talk about without coming off as cocky and arrogant. Like, I love what I do. Like, I absolutely adore it. Like, you have to understand, for the I've been doing this for about 11 years now, and for the first 8 or 9, I had no audience whatsoever. I was just doing it for myself. So I had to become my biggest cheerleader. I had to champion my own work because no one else did. I got no support, really. And the support I got, it was more like, I care about you, and obviously this is something you're interested in, so I'll support it. But like, it had nothing to do with like my talent or what my actual work that I was producing. Like, half the people wouldn't even check it out. It was just like, yay, good for you. Bullshit. So I had to be my own biggest fan, and I just constantly pushed myself to become something better. And a close friend of mine once said last year that she thought that my writing would be a big hit with psychology courses, because if you read enough of my work, what it's really about essentially is just living with mental illness. And I write about the feelings and thoughts and document going through that, and it's easier to understand whenever you actually have it spelled out for you. And I hope some way, like, it can help other people understand like how fucking crippling depression can be. Let's see what your other questions were. How do you believe an artist's view of themselves can affect their work? This is something I get all the time at FRH. Like, whenever people submit something, they're like, I'm not sure if it's any good, I don't really like it, but will you display it for me anyway? And it is. It's amazing. And so many artists are down on themselves, and they shouldn't be. But maybe it's that belief that you're not any good that pushes you to go further. I have no idea. But again, if you can get a big head, that can affect your work in negative ways. Like, you have to enjoy what you do, but you have to stay humble. Otherwise, it'll get away from you and it'll turn into something less than what it could be. I don't know if that makes any sense. And the final question is, any messages you have to supporters and people who are against your writing? To the supporters, fucking thank you so much. Like, you have no idea. Like, I'm an artist, which means, like, one of the main reasons I do what I do is for the attention, because I didn't get it growing up. Fuck you, mom and dad. But I thrive off of that support and that positive feedback. Like, it makes my fucking day more than you have any idea. As for detractors or whatever, like, as an artist, you put yourself out there, and especially if you are honest, then you're going to put a lot of your heart and soul out there on display for others to see, and it's going to cause some reactions you might not be prepared for. I try not to focus on the negative too much, because there's so much good that I would rather focus on. But I'd like to address something that's happened a couple times recently, and it kind of bugs me. I've had people read my work and reblog it, which is great. Reblog anything you want. Like, that gets my name out there. That allows me to be seen by people who would not have seen me otherwise. So I love having my shit reblogged. The thing I don't like is whenever they reblog a piece of mine and then write where they, because like, all writing is subjective. So like, the initial vision I had for a piece might not be what someone else takes from it. And I've had a couple of times where someone has reblogged my work and then wrote scathing comments about it, like saying, I'll give you the example that happened this week. I wrote a little piece called Carcinogenic, and it is as followed. "Silly boy," she said as I placed the cigarette to my lips. "Don't you know those horrid things will kill you?" "Yes," I reply with a soft smile and smoke pouring from between my teeth. "But the tragic thing is, it takes It's sweet fucking time. Someone reblogged it and then kind of wrote some scathing remarks about how I'm glorifying cancer, which is awful. I would never do something like that. Cancer is fucking, well, it's one of the worst things out there, and I've lost people to cancer. Like, I know how serious that shit is. I would never romanticize or glorify that in any way. The piece that piece was written, and it's about the quiet defeat someone accepts when they willingly do something they know is killing them. And the title carcinogenic is in reference to that state of mind, how those types of thoughts can be cancerous. And like, if you have any issues with something I wrote, talk to me about it. Like, I welcome discussion on my work. Like, I love it. Even if it's negative, like, I'm more than happy to talk to you about anything I've written. Just give me a chance to speak my mind. I don't like it whenever it's posted somewhere else with negative feedback. Like, even if it's negative feedback, that's fine, but like, don't assume like you know exactly what it's about, and don't, like, that's going to be the first impression people give me from your remarks, and it kind of irks me. But like, I messaged them, and that person is wonderful, and I got a new follower out of it, because I believe in discussing things instead of jumping to conclusions or acting rashly, because 9 times out of 10 a rational discussion will get you farther than conflict. And I've gotten to know that person, and she's beautiful and wonderful, and I'm so happy to know her now. It just, that initial thing really bugged me. So like, if you have any issues with what I do, talk to me about them. Like, I welcome it, seriously. This video is getting kind of long, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it off now. Thank you for your question. If you want to know anything else, just ask. Alright, until next time.